Alright, so now that we have vCloud Automation Center installed, and we have it connected to a vCenter server so that we have access to compute resources, there's some fundamental configuration that we need to do before we can start provisioning machines against those resources. And to begin with, we need to create a machine prefix. We do that by going to Enterprise Administrators, Machine Prefixes. Machine prefixes are basically ways to auto-generate host names for machines. So if we come over here and say new machine prefix, I'm just going to create one. I'm going to call it IT-production. I'm going to make it have a 3-digit number starting at 1. Go ahead and save that. And I'm going to create a second one. That's going to be IT/dev 3 and 1. So the reason why we got to create these first is when we go to set up an actual provisioning group, we have to define a primary prefix for that provisioning group. We can always override it later at the blueprint, or you can even use custom workflow to get really elaborate in matching, machine host naming to company policies or whatever your needs are for the host name. But for lab environments and some development environments, machine prefixes should work pretty well for you. So next we're going to go over to provisioning groups. We're actually going to create a new provisioning group. And if you're not familiar, provisioning groups are, well, they're the groups of like users that have similar needs. So we're going to create these groups. We're going to add a group manager who's going to oversee the group. We're going to add a user to the group. And the users are the ones that actually are able to request provision machines and consume the resources. Now the group managers can do that as well, and they can do some other interesting things like request machines and assign them to their users. And we also have this support role here. Support, they can do things like work on behalf of users. So it's handy for your IT service desk and those kind of folks who might need to come in and troubleshoot the environment for the users. But what they can also do is things similar to request a machine and assign it to the user. So I see some organizations using the support role for that specific function, where they're not actually giving end users the ability to make their own requests. They're using the support role and assigning those intermediary folks who actually make the requests for the users to go in there and make those requests and assign them off to the users. So here I'm going to make a group called my IT admins, and we're going to be IT admins at local. And now I need to select my default machine prefix, and I'm just going to pick this IT prod prefix here. Active Directory container does not get used for VMware cloning. It's used if you do WIM provisioning. So I'm just going to plug in OU equals computers for now. There are ways that we can take machines that are being provisioned via cloning and populate them into the Active Directory container that you want them in. We would do that through custom workflow. We're going to get to that quite a ways down the road. So I'm going to make myself a manager, and I'm going to assign a user as well. Now, once we go and say OK on this, it's actually going to do AD validation against your users. And I've got one wrong. There we go. So we saw there, it validated it, saw that the user account was not accurate, and let me know. Now that my group's created, it's going to show you some information about the group, right? How much memory has been allocated to the group and resources, and how much storage. Now, this allocation would be across any bit of infrastructure that I have access to. So once we get a reservation against that one of those vSphere clusters, that'll show up here. But if you have Hyper-V, Zen, Physical, Amazon EC2, all those different resources, this is going to be a culmination of the total amount of resources they have access to across all the infrastructure that they've been granted. But for now, they don't have any. So now we've created our provisioning groups. And the next thing we need to do is actually give our provisioning group a reservation that they can provision against. And we're actually going to do that in a separate video. So this actually concludes laying the foundation, setting up our machine prefixes and creating a provisioning group so that we have users that can come in and actually access Cloud Automation Center to make requests. Join us next time for creating reservations. Thank you for watching.